Say if I don't agree with something, or if I think a different way about something, then I say, let's do it like, well, you know what? How about if you say, I didn't think about it that way. May I tell you how I think about it, or what I think about that? And then we don't get into that. Well, are you wrong? And that's not right. So let's keep it cordial. Can we all agree with that?
Yes, ma'am. I can agree.
Good. I didn't hear but one person. Now I saw some heads being shaken.
Me too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
I concur.
This is me. I'm me. What you see is what you get. And so when I ask that question, I'm a classroom teacher. So when I get all of the approval of and I'm not saying you're a student, but when I do get all of them to agree with me, okay.
Thank you.
The one that kind of strays away from our norms, as we say, I pull them back by saying, no, wait a minute, you agree with that norm. Okay, so we have one beautiful young lady besides myself. We have one that's a candidate. And I'm going to ask you, Ms. Bridget, if you will begin, tell us what you want us to know about you. I've read your bios and all of that. Of course, this is being recorded. Hello, young lady. How are you? That just added. We'll get to you. Ms. Bridget, would you begin? Tell us a little something about yourself, what you want us to know about you, and then because we are recording, please also, and that's every one of you, share the position that you are vying for. And if you have an opponent, even if they're on here tonight, please share with us who your opponent is, or your opponents. Ms. Bridget, we'll begin with you.
Good evening or good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us gathered here this evening. I agree with you that it is important to meet candidates, to be able to put the face to the name on the ballot. My name is Linda Pritchett, and I am running for state senator in District 39. That is a seat that was previously held by Senator Vincent Fort, and I ran in 2017, and I ran against my current opponent, the incumbent, Nikema Williams, who's also the chair of the Democratic Party. A little bit about myself. I'm first generation American. My parents are Cuban immigrants that came to this country so that my family would have a better life. My father became enlisted in the Army because it was during the draft time that he came here to this country. So I have a strong appreciation for being American, because a lot of the freedoms that we have in this country, my family does not experience in Cuba. And I am a mother and a wife, and I have 2 young men who are 23 and 25. And my husband, who moved here from Mississippi, is a former state representative. And he served in the House of Representatives for 9 years. I, by profession, am a certified paralegal. So for over 15 years, I have been in the legal profession, working for attorneys, advocating for people, helping people with paperwork. I also have a degree in criminal justice. And one of my most passionate areas in my campaign is to advocate for criminal justice reform, because I believe that criminal justice reform affects every area of our lives. And right now, it's the area that everyone is engaged in. The reason that I am running, it might sound a little controversial, but at this time, I believe that we have a leadership crisis all the way from the White House to the State House. And we have leaders that are leaders in name only, and we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of pertinent issues. And I think that the role of a state senator or a legislator, if you will, is to introduce legislation, to pass legislation, to pass a state budget, and deal with policy and be available to the constituents. So over the last 2.5 years that we have had this state senator, we have not had any legislation passed. And it's something that we're simply not used to after having a senator like Vincent Fort that was very vocal and that fought for the people. I am very vocal. I am involved and engaged in my community. I attend HOA, NPU, city council, commission meetings, election board meetings. And the reason that I've done that over the last 10 years is because it's important that I know firsthand what is happening in the district. The district comprises 5 cities, which is South Fulton, East Point, Union City, College Park, and the city of Atlanta, with over 177,000 residents. So it's important that people have someone that understands their issues, that's willing to draft a lot of their concerns into meaningful legislations, someone that is available and responsive to people. And I am very, I just have a heart for people. And as a paralegal, I'm naturally a problem solver. So I have offered myself for the service of the people in my community. And I hope that you would look favorably on me and that you would vote for me on Tuesday, June the 9th. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Did any one of you time her? Because you get the same amount of time. Anybody? Because when I I was listening to her and it was so impressive. And when I looked at my clock here, so I'll just tell you what. We'll go to the next person, and you just talk until you have told us what you want us to know about you. We'll get back to getting into some of that. Just wanted to give everybody that opportunity. Okay. So how do we do this? How do we do? Do we go? What do we do? How do you all want to do? I'll begin with this. I'll begin at the top in the left, and I see Sheriff Freeman. So we'll go to you. Mr. Freeman, Myron Freeman.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to get to know you and you to get to know me as well. My name is Myron Freeman. I was born at Grady Memorial Hospital. I went to W.H. Quabbin Elementary School. I'm a graduate of Luther Judson Price High School.
Run for office.
Excuse me?
Okay.
Okay. I served in the United States Army as a military policeman. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, a master's degree in public administration. I've been a resident of this county for more than over 35 years. I'm married to my wife, Pamela. She's also a native here in the community. We have a 10-year-old daughter, Mila. And that's who you see in the lower right-hand corner there.
I see now, right? Yes, sir. But she doesn't have her. She's just she doesn't have her video on.
No.
Because she's in that same pose that when she came. So, but she'll get to it. If we can do this, she should. See how quick she did that? Okay.
But she teaches me everything about this.
I know, right? I know.
I retired from the Georgia State Patrol. I started as a trooper. I went trooper, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, and lieutenant colonel. I was the first African American in all those positions. I served, when I retired, I ran for sheriff of Fulton County in 2005. I was the sheriff from 2005 to 2008. I served also under 5 governors, starting with Governor Jimmy Carter, Governor George Busby, Governor Joe Frank Harris, Governor Zell Miller, Governor Roy Barnes, and I retired under Governor Sonny Perdue. Let me see, what else you want to know about me? I happily married.
You hesitated. Come on now. Okay,
I'm running for sheriff of Fulton County again because I have some unfinished business that I didn't get a chance to take care of. As you know, when I was sheriff before, I was 3 months in office. I had these courthouse shootings, and it's unfortunate people lost their lives. But what I did was put in place something where that would never happen again. Of course, out of every crisis comes opportunity, and the opportunity was to make sure that never happened again. And for the 3 years of my administration, the courthouse was safe, and it's been safe for the past 12 years based on what I put in place. The other thing is that I care about my community. I see what's going on in my community. And yes, the sheriff takes care of the jail. Yes, the sheriff takes care of the courthouse. But what I want to do is to educate the people. That office doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the people of Fulton County, the voters. And I'm concerned about what you're concerned about. And people are afraid. They're scared to go to the store. They're scared to go to, like when they go to work, their doors are being kicked in. Businesses are being robbed. And as sheriff of Fulton County, when you elect me this time, you're going to see a sheriff office deputy in the community backing up the police in this 15 county area. I mean, this 15 city area, because you don't have enough police, and we want to reduce this crime for our senior citizens, for our children, and for our community. But I'm concerned about what the constituents are concerned about. I did it before, and I'll do it again. The other thing I want to say is that I want to make sure our communities are safe, and I want to make sure our homes are safe. I want to make sure that our children are safe. I want to make sure that our wives and daughters and, where we work, live, and play, it needs to be safe. And everybody needs to chip in to help. And I want to know what's on your mind so I can take care of your problems.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Very good. Very good. You have opponents here, so just go on and tell us who they are. I just want this for the record because this.
Oh, sure. Oh, I'll be happy to introduce my opponents.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes. I like a little hey. One of my opponents is Patrick Labatt.
Okay.
Patrick Labatt. Excuse me, Pat.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry too because I've been saying Labatt. I'm sorry.
I think it's French. But anyway, Patrick Labatt.
Labatt, okay.
And then I have Charles Rambo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see. Is there anything else you want me to say?
No, we've got time. We're going to get to it. I just wanted to make sure I, got you going.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
And just so that all of you know, our opponents are here and all of that. When I ran for state legislator in Arkansas, I told, when I didn't win, that's fine, because when I just went right back to the person that did and said, hey, look, I'm good. I think I'm good. And so we're going to work together. And I think that's kind of what I want all of us to agree to do, is work together. And Yes, sir.
I agree.
Well, anyway, let me keep going so I don't.
We're
sorry.
all on the same team.
Yes, sir.
What we want to do is to do what the voters want us to do. That chair belongs to the voters of Fulton County. You need to know who's in there. You need to know you can talk to them, and you need to know. And just like you talking to me now, you can talk to me then.
Yes.
I've been out of office 12 years, and people still think I'm the sheriff of Fulton County.
All right. I hear you. You're welcome. Mr. Labatt, you know, we get a little rivalry going here. You know, it's good for the soul.
No worries. First of all, good evening, and certainly
evening.
thank you for your leadership and hosting and putting on this forum, and certainly to each one of the officials running for office. Thank you for your leadership and stepping in and offering yourself for office. And certainly to Miss Mila, hey, how are you? Good to see you again. My name is Patrick Labatt. I'm born and raised right here in Fulton County, from Frederick Douglass High School to Clark Atlanta University. My journey through college was a little different than most. I worked 11 at night to 7 in the morning at the city jail, and then went to school during the daytime. And so I also obtained my master's degree in public administration in the same fashion. Over the course of 20 years, I was promoted through the ranks. And in 2010, I was appointed to chief of the City of Atlanta Department of Corrections, where we proudly put together a team that focused on customer service, focused on accreditation, and making sure we maintain our accreditation for 10 years at a perfect score of 100. The accreditation process, as you know, is one that is absolutely really showcases your department or your office. Doesn't matter what the business is. And for us, it was an opportunity for us to lean into our community. We created a great team. We were able to go beyond the walls of the jail and focus on our senior citizens. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we fed 200 to 300 senior citizens every day. And of those Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and sometimes that's the best meal those seniors were able to get. We created a junior correction academy like no other. And for us, it was about literally choices. It wasn't a scared straight program. So we had an opportunity to take kids of all ages through the court system, through the jail system, and certainly through the homeless shelters. But for us, it was about hope. So we also took them to Hartsville-Jackson as well as Charlie Brown Airport, gave them an opportunity to go up in the tower. And I say all the time, as you see their eyes light up when the plane takes off, so do their hopes and dreams as we move into our next generation and what that looks like. We also started a junior correction academy. Creating an environment where we could lean into our community. We literally also sent sent officers over to Bethune Elementary and focused on reading. You often hear about the school to prison pipeline, but what can we do to interrupt that pipeline, if you will? And then we also created the #1 reentry program in the country. We partnered with the State Department of Corrections, Urban League of Greater Atlanta, and for those individuals returning to our communities, we were able to offer a path, one that included dignity and offered jobs. And so we became a certified transitional center. And as such, as people tell you what you can't do, we focused on what we could do. And so we focused on getting real city employment for each cohort that came through. And as I say all the time, they began to work on their retirement as while they were still incarcerated. And so instead of leaving with $25 in a bus ticket, we had individuals depart the program and still remain employed with $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in the bank. A true second chance is what we call it. Again, as I mentioned, I live in Southwest Atlanta with my wife, and literally, as Sheriff Freeman said earlier, happily married. We have a blended family, 4 grown children. So we've again taken this next journey together in a fashion that we know we can do some of the things that we've done in the past 10 years on a much broader scale. We're in trouble right now, and readily people don't admit it. It's a pivotal time in between law enforcement and our community, and it is time for new leadership, new generational leadership. And we have to really embrace that, have a conversation. Say all the time, we're more alike than we are different. And we have to be able to engage our youth in a fashion that they want to be heard, they want to be listened to. And so for me, it is an opportunity to take this out of control system. We say it all the time. You look at 40 to 50% of the crimes being committed in the metro area, the violent crimes, and studies show that they're being committed by less than 500 people. And we're doing nothing about it from the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office is one of the most vital roles in law enforcement, if not the most vital role in law enforcement. 159 counties throughout the state. Fulton County is literally the largest, with the capital city in it. It's considered the high sheriff. So constitutionally, as someone mentioned earlier, we know about protecting the courts and the jails, and certainly serving the warrants. But the basic tenet of law enforcement is public safety. And we should lean in and make sure that, as a community, we feel safe where we work, live, and play. And so that's the focus there. Executive level leadership matters. We have a proven track record of making a difference. And so for that, this is about leadership. This is about change. This is about generational leadership. And I'm ready to serve. So I certainly appreciate the time. I look forward to the conversation tonight. And again, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much.
In all fairness, so Mr. Rambo, I think you'll pivot too, and certainly former Sheriff Myron Freeman are our competition.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're going to be fair because, like I said, if you had an opponent on the ballot, I invited them. So if they're not here, I invited them. Okay.
Thank you.
And so let's go to, let's see. We talked to, who help me out, you all, help me out. You see I'm old.
I think I'm your newcomer. I'm a little bit late, so.
No, I guess that's okay. No, late. As long as you get here between 7 and 9, you're fine.
Oh, well, I'm blessed then. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We're not talking about if you're late, out and educated. Teachers coming in and they're just rushing, and I say, you're here, breathe.
By the grace of
But
God.
I'm trying to stay within the sheriffs, and I know I talked to Freeman, right?
Right.
Mr. Rambo.
Right.
And look, I talked to you, so it must be
Mr. Rambo.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well.
I've always had the problem with my microphone, so hopefully everything is going to flow well tonight. First and foremost, I want to thank you as a grassroots person who has gotten involved and decided to host this forum amongst candidates. One of the key things that we have to battle against are people who are uninformed about their candidates, their platforms. So it means a lot to me, and I'm sure the other candidates who are tuned in, that you thought enough of yourself, not robbery, to come and to invite us on a Sunday evening to discuss the issues that are pertinent to this time. My name is Charles Rambo. I am a retired lieutenant from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office with over 30 years of real-world major county sheriff expertise, having worked in just about every function in the sheriff's agency. I have worked in the agency from Sheriff Langford all the way up to the current sheriff, Sheriff Ted Jackson and not to leave out Sheriff Myron Freeman in this process. And with that, I've learned a lot through these years, things I had to learn on my own, things I learned the hard way, things I've learned good. But nonetheless, I believe that considering the time and what we're up against, it has prepared me to deal with the contemporary issues of criminal justice. With that, I want to say something. It might be a little off from traditional forums, but I'm compelled to say at this portion in time, one of my favorite surahs inside of the Holy Quran is the time. The time. Yes. And it recites, consider the time. Surely man is at loss, except those who believe and do good and enjoin one another to truth and enjoin one another to patience. Yes. With that, we are here as candidates to offer ourselves in such a tumultuous time that we're living in, that we have experienced two unexpected things in our county, whether that be COVID-19 or all of a sudden a civil unrest that has come and has tested us. Were we prepared to deal with what is going on inside of our communities? And coming in to be the chief law enforcement officer of this county essentially means is that you've got to be prepared. You have to be day one ready. Whichever one of us that is, that God will anoint and to move this agency forward. I'm offering myself because not only have I served 30 years with inside of the sheriff's office as a law enforcement officer, but I have also served within the past 20-something years as a leader, a teacher, an educator, as a senior instructor at the police academy, dealing with issues of use of force, First Amendment violations, case preparation, you name it. And these are the issues that are in our time frame that the youth are out saying that we want change. I've been leading change for a very long time. I've learned from my mistakes. I've learned from, the things that I was able to do in a positive manner. And I am using that particular experiences to give back to this generation. In fact, over the past couple of days, and by no unfair advantage, just real quick, say hi.
Hi.
Say hi. We just came back from peaceful demonstration out in the streets, what have you, because I want my daughter to be able to be prepared for what may come her way in the future. All right, David, I love you. And with that, I've just been a person that continuously gives back to the generation behind me because I'm responsible for molding the mindsets to step into leadership positions, as many people who have stepped into my classrooms have come in, got to that education, have gone on to be captains and chiefs and what have you. So education is the foundation of everything that we do. And now more than ever, we need constitutional leadership. And let me explain that and then I'll cut off so that we can allow for other people to get their points in. The Constitution is the basis of what we do in criminal justice. There is no program or plan that can be successful unless it meets constitutional standards. And when we get back to the foundation of what we're supposed to be doing as law enforcement officers, instead of being looked upon as warriors, but also as guardians inside of our communities, protecting life, liberty, and property in such a time like this, I want to be able to join. On June 10th, I'm ready to get started with my plan for constitutional policing. And I want to be able to call some of these young folks in and say, let's sit at the table. I don't need for, to have a whole bunch of elected officials or other persons present because you elect me as an independent constitutional officer to deal with what you asked me to do. Now, that's not a slight to anything or anybody. What that means is that I will be able to sit down and say, here's where we're going to start, and here's where I want you young folks involved, because at the end of the day, this is about your future. I've had my opportunity. Now is your time to shine. So with that, wherever leadership is present, everything begins to change. It only takes one person to step up and get the job done. And that's Charles Rambo, your next Fulton County Sheriff on June 10th.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. I understand. And let me just say to you, Brother Rambo, is it okay if I call everybody brother?
Look, I am loose today. I don't have any backgrounds or anything. I am wanting to come here and to dialogue.
Brother Rambo, that prayer that you prayed, that's my Tower we select about 2 or 3 every morning, and that's my favorite prayer. So thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me tell you how this is going to happen from this point, because I want everybody to know I'm not, putting you last or whatever. Myla, sweet Myla, can you hear me, Myla?
Yes.
You can hear me. Myla, you're going to be the very last one, but I have something for you. So don't go anywhere, because you're going to be the light of this. You're the one that's going to, be the star here. But so just hold on. Mr. Martin, you're going to come right before Myla. And that's because you are, so the others are in the environmental, the commission. And I want to get to them and kind of so we can compare as we go. And then I'm coming to you, and then I'm going to Myla, and then I have something else that we're all going to do. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. No worries. No worries at all.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have Mr. Blackman, and we have Mr. Bryan. I've read your bios. I'm very impressed. So which one of you want to begin? Which one of you want to start telling me about,
I mean,
order? So that means,
first of all, it's an honor to be amongst all of you. So, Robert, are you okay with me going first?
Yeah, it's alphabetical. It works. It's all.
Well, my name is Daniel Blackman. I am the son of immigrants. My mother and father are from Barbados. I am born in Boston, Massachusetts, but grew up in Columbus, Georgia. My father joined the military when I was very young. So the way I got to Georgia after he was deployed to Vicenza, Italy, where I spent the first part of my life, we were then stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, which is right outside of Columbus in Muskogee County. Was recruited to go to Clark Atlanta University. So shout out to Brother Labat. And I know he is an alum as well. And so two CAU Panthers on this call. So I'm excited about that. But the reality of the issue that we're facing today is many people in our community understand sheriff, they understand governors, they understand mayors, they understand school board, but they don't understand the Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission, in a very simple way for me to put this for everyone to understand, is the commission that is directly responsible for the regulation of our public utilities. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that there was a 5-0 vote, which is going to tee up both Robert and I. I'm running in District 4. He's running in District 1. On July the 1st, after we have gotten in a space where we're trying to navigate through this COVID-19 crisis, when we first started this crisis, Georgia's unemployment rate was at 12,000 people had filed for unemployment. To date, 160,000 people have filed for unemployment. When we first entered into this pandemic, we saw the governor announce a moratorium on disconnections. That meant that there would be no disconnections while we were trying to recover and understand what was going on as our economy and our social communities have fundamentally changed. Starting on July 1st, we will begin to see gas disconnections, and on July 14th, we will begin to see electric disconnections. The reason why this is important for those who are viewing is because this Public Service Commission is about two areas. One, about access for everyone to clean energy and reliable energy. But number two, it's about an issue that from the presidential campaigns all the way down to the dog catcher, we don't hear people talking enough about poverty and about folks on a fixed income and working families and seniors on a fixed income. The Public Service Commission is responsible to provide safe and reliable energy through their regulation of utility companies in and around the state of Georgia. So we are in a space now where on one hand, we deal with clean energy such as solar. most of us on this call and all of us that are candidates should want clean air, because people of color, specifically Black boys and girls, are getting asthma 3 times the national rate. When you're looking at those issues and the fact that we need to move and transition from fossil fuels towards clean and renewable energy becomes very important. On top of that, we need to make sure it's affordable. What most people don't understand is, yes, it's great to say that we want to have solar. Yes, it's great for folks that can afford a Tesla or put a $15,000 solar system on their homes. But for low and moderate income families that don't have the access, the funds, or the accessibility to programs that will allow them to have solar, whether they're a homeowner or a renter, we need to make sure we level the playing field. On top of that, we've seen the fact that 1.9 million people in Georgia live at or below the poverty line. Having that many people living at or below the poverty line means we need to do more for energy assistance and reliability. What am I talking about? There's something in the stimulus package that passed called low-income heat and energy assistance programs. As your next public service commissioner, I want to make sure we're increasing the capacity to make sure that low and moderate income families are not being disconnected, are having limited challenges when it comes to reconnection fees, and are making sure that we put them as a priority, because God knows that the reliability of our heat and our gas and our air, these are areas that are essential to life, especially as we are entering into one of the hottest summers on record. It's been recently reported and forecasted that all over the United States, we're going to see temperatures in some areas where we have 30 to 45 consecutive days of 85 to 90 degree weather. We cannot afford to have people that are struggling to have access to air conditioning in that type of weather, because now we put ourselves at health risk to make sure that folks have what they need, not only to survive, but for humane purposes. So we need to work to make sure we're working with utilities to make sure that we are also supporting families that need to have their utilities working. And I believe we can do that, and we can have pro-consumer, pro-ratepayer policies. Another issue that has bothered me since the onset of COVID and well before then, with the hurricane seasons we've seen in middle Georgia and in coastal Georgia and rural areas around our state, is our preparedness. I have worked not only with the EPA, I've worked not only with the Obama administration on 2 White House initiatives, but I've worked with FEMA as it relates to federal preparedness when you're thinking of natural disasters and storms and extreme weather events. What we have never prepared for, at least as long as I've worked in that capacity, is we hadn't prepared for a pandemic. And when you look at one major example of a pandemic's impact on our communities is access to wireless broadband. Many young people around the state right now, whether it's because of poverty or they live in rural parts of our state that don't have access to wireless broadband, we've seen a tremendous impact on our students, K through 12, that are having to do online learning. And as a result of them not having high-speed internet, we're going to see a tremendously large amount of students transitioning to the next grade that have not yet finished the current grade that they're on, which means that not only, as Michelle Obama said, have rural communities have food deserts, we're now having technology deserts and digital divides that are going to grow beyond our control, which are going to leave more of our children further behind. And for the sheriffs that are running, for the candidates that are running for sheriff in this race, they can all attest that one of the biggest indicators to our prison population is reading scores. 88% of Georgia's prison population reads at a 3rd grade level. 88%. When we're looking at those numbers, what does that mean for social justice and the Public Service Commission outside of environmental justice? This means that we now have to worry about rural folks, inner city kids, coastal kids, anyone around our state that does not have access to high-speed internet will now be left further behind. They'll be struggling with reading, with math, and with science, all competencies that are required for us to compete globally and to create the workforce that we deserve in Georgia that will carry us into the future, which is the last point I want to speak about today before I pass it on to my friend Robert Bryan and we can have more of a dialogue. But building a workforce of the future, I mentioned that I'm a product of Clark Atlanta University. I want to see historically Black colleges in Georgia and technical colleges in Georgia do what they're doing in the state of Michigan, specifically at Michigan State University with the Institute of Public Utilities. I want to see ratepayer schools that are at our churches, and in our civic organizations, at our historically Black colleges, and also at our technical colleges. What this means is the only way for us to change and move the needle is there are three things that have to be in place. Number one, we've got to educate a workforce of the future, which I've said. Number two, we've got to diversify what the utility regulatory industry looks like and what environmental leadership looks like, because we're only going to get the changes in policy by having people that understand the lived experiences of the community. Case in point, 68% of Black communities are in proximity to a fossil fuel plant. 20% of our communities are in proximity to a fossil fuel waste facility. We've got to really start thinking about why our health is amongst the lowest in the United States. We've got to start thinking about why our communities are most vulnerable as it relates to respiratory illness. We've got to start speaking about the issues in Burke County, Georgia, with access to clean energy and the effects and impacts that have on the community, as well as Juliet, Georgia, where because coal ash cleanup was not in place, a problem of our Public Service Commission, we now are seeing high amounts of lead and mercury in the water and in the water wells in Monroe County, Juliet, Georgia, and in other places around our state. So making sure that we have a plan and commissioners that understand that leadership is about putting the health and the interests of the people and the ratepayers ahead of the profit of utility companies is paramount. The last thing I want to say is Plant Vogtle. We are currently under a program that was voted on by Democrats and Republicans for an expansion of nuclear Plant Vogtle reactors 3 and reactor 4. This means that we are currently in a space where we are paying $27 billion over the next 6 years, and we're already behind schedule. Instead of investing into clean energy technology, instead of increasing capacity for our electric grid, instead of creating space where we can test the Savannah River site, where, by the way, federal funding has been cut for testing the drinking water of the Savannah River in Chatham County and Glenn County and other areas around our state, we've overspended on a budget that has crippled our economy and crippled the pocketbooks of utility payers around the state. I want to change that. My name is Daniel Blackman. On June 9th, I hope and pray that you'll vote Daniel Blackman in District 4. I hope you'll support Robert Bryant in District 1. And let's change the future together. Out of 468 public service commissioners in the United States, only 22 of them are African American. In Georgia, we have a chance to elect 2 African Americans to the Public Service Commission, which will fundamentally change the way we think about energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And let me say two things. One of our, you have joined us, Miriam, you have joined us. Thank you for joining. I'm going to ask you if you will just mute yourself. Can you just mute? Because I know you're driving and we're getting kind of some feedback. Thank you. But please keep listening. But we are recording and I just want to make you, no problem. And then the other thing is, and so let me say this to you all. I am not bound by anything in terms of what I can say here. What we're doing here, I do this because I want to have this. I like to run things, and when you run stuff, you gotta run it. So I guess what I'm saying is, I'm so glad, Mr. Blackman and Mr. Bryant, that you all both can do this. Because that's the 2 easiest votes out of all night. So, hey, exactly. So nobody can come back and say, well, you were pulling for I can do that. I run this. I pay for this. Okay. And that's what it is. All right. So, Mr. Martin, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Come on, talk to us. Because I am really, this is another easy vote as well. Come on.
Yes, ma'am. First and foremost, I want to extend my extreme gratitude for you having me here. I know we've talked briefly and you've always looked at my Facebook post, and I just want to extend my extreme appreciation that you allowed me to come on your platform. Hello, everyone. Good evening to everyone watching on Facebook. My name is Barrington D. I'm running the 2nd, and I'm running for the 5th congressional seat of Georgia, which is now held by the great civil rights icon, John Lewis. I was born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up starting in the Grove Park area, which is now Donald Lee Hallwell, but for true Atlanteans, we know this is the Bankhead neighborhood. I then spent my teenage years, and I graduated from Cedar Grove High School. I received my bachelor's in political science from Georgia State in 2011, and I am currently on hiatus from receiving my master's in African American Studies. I took a pause to run for Congress. Being an Atlanta native all my life, I feel that the city has been in stagnancy for the last 33 years. And due to the ongoing changes and the lack of changes, I feel that it's time to move towards a new direction. I believe that we are right now at the dawn of a new political renaissance in our nation, as we all have come to the table to agree with the common fact that we know that something is wrong and that a change is needed. We've seen time and time again, our elected officials have always bailed out banks or bailed out the major corporations. And I feel that now it's time for America to do its due diligence and bail out the people. This is why I have come up with this ideology called the People's Bailout, which is a combination of two policies that I hold near and dear to my platform, which are universal health care and universal guaranteed income. Universal health care is basically what it is. It's giving everyone access to health care. However, the difference in my approach to it is basically removing the need for employment to have healthcare, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with a lot of the issues in the city, especially with the homelessness and the poverty rate. And I think that poor people should have access to healthcare, because at the end of the day, as human beings, we all deserve something like healthcare as one of the main necessities of life. Pair that with universal guaranteed, also known as universal basic income, ideology that's been currently championed by one of the former Democratic presidential hopefuls, Andrew Yang, but it's really an old ideology, and Dr. King Jr. championed this within his Economic Bill of Rights before he passed, and it was going to be a major part of his poor people's movement. But to sum it up, basically, with universal guaranteed income, you'll be paid a dividend. Everyone, no matter your status, no matter if you're poor, no matter you're rich, it goes to everyone. You paid a monthly dividend of $1,000. I personally wanted to be a little bit higher, just so it could take away the poverty line, because I feel that as human beings and as we live in a country with extreme abundance as we do, no person here should live near the poverty line. But yeah, so you would get a monthly dividend of $1,000. Essentially, what that does is it gives you the agency and the freedom to decide and make choices for yourself, and no longer will people have to, make decisions between paying for a bill or paying for food to eat. And not only that, the People's Bailout basically alleviates all of the issues that we see in regards to poverty and things of that nature. I feel that it's just mainly time for a new direction. We've been going in the same direction for the last 33 years, and I mean this on a local level as far as being within the district, and as well as a national level. We look at the numbers and look at the stats. It shows you that we really haven't been doing the things that we need to do in order for people to live more better and fruitful lives within this nation. For example, Atlanta consists of almost 750,000 people. The median income of those people is around $55,000 a year. However, the district is also 30% into poverty. When you look at that 30% of poverty, you will see that over 70% of those people are Black people. And with a city like Atlanta, a District 5, like it is in Georgia, that's like probably the top 3, if not top 2, districts in America with the most Black people. There are problems along the horizon with automation coming and a lot of things coming, in which that number at 30% is possibly going to double within the next 5 years. And despite everything on the political side, I'm offering solutions to combat that and to also reverse it. So I think that is the bulk of what I want to share with you all. But I just feel that, in desperate situations and desperate time that we're in, someone had to step up to the plate, and all of our ancestors, I'm speaking from myself as well as from little Myra Freeman, all of our ancestors has done their due diligence, has done the work, and now I feel like it's my generation's turn to take the baton and carry this thing further than it's ever been carried before. And this is one of the, premier reasons I decided to put my name in the hat and run for Congress this year.
And your opponent is?
The great John Lewis.
All right. Don't be afraid to say that, because you know what? It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good. So listen, we've done well, because now we have an hour to do what someone has said. We're going to dialogue. But before we dialogue, let me ask, Milo, you ready? You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so listen very well. I need your dad and your mom, I need your parents to agree to this. But let me tell you all why I asked. So the first Sunday in every month, Courageous Conversations awards a youth ages or grades K through 12, and we can do at least 2. We award youth a $50 cash award for answering the question, both questions: why vote? Why not? Why vote? Why not? So with Myla being here listening to you, Myla is going to get the reward. Is that okay, Mom and Dad? Yes. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. Myla?
Yes.
Tell me, I tell you what, because I know, you may have lots of things going on, but when you can do this any way you want to. You can put it in a poem. You can do it in an essay. You can, any way you want to do it, in any way, but you can make a project out of it. But however you do it, when you finish, send it to me digitally. You can just send it. And the email address that you're going to send it to is on the description of this video. And it's the same one that your dad sent his information to. Courageous Conversations, the number 10 at hotmail.com. And I'll send that again. So you just send that to me. When you send that to me, whenever I get that, then I'm going to find a way, your dad, your mom, and you, and I'm going to present you with a $50 cashier's check from Courageous Conversations at Courageous Conversations about education. Ask a teacher. Now, do you understand what I asked? And tell me if you have any questions. Do you have any questions about what you're to do? And there's no, I'm not, whatever you do, if you make a poem, I'm not saying you have to have 15 stanzas or 1 stanza. If you write an essay, I'm not saying that you have to have 500 words or 5, but you have to answer the 2 questions. Why vote? Why not? And so sitting here tonight, listening to all of what we're listening to, that gives you a lot to think about, correct? Correct. So when you get that ready, then email it to me, and somebody, let me know, and I'll get it. Send me a text or something also and say, I just sent it, Miss Majid. So hurry up and open up your email and get it. And then we're going to set it up so you can get your money, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you, because this is the deal. Between now and November, because nothing ends after Tuesday, between now and November, every month, the first of every month, we ask at least 2, we select at least 2 young people, ages or grades K through 12, to submit their answer in any form they want to those 2 questions. Why vote? Why not? Because I know you're not voting age, Myla, but why should you wait to be voting age before you become engaged and all of that? And that's why I think we have so many of our younger people, millennials, people who are voting age. And we hear it all the time. Why should I vote? Not going to matter. Da, 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 da. And so we need you. We really do. And so children make a lot of, they can say and do things, and they can make some differences in their homes. And we need every child between K and 12. We need them talking to parents and grandparents and their uncles and aunts and cousins between now and November. We need them to be saying, Mom, Dad, Uncle, you registered? Let's go vote. And if it comes from a child, I think we're on the right track. What do you think about that, Mike?